Welcome back to another episode of the Counterculture Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, along with my great friend and co-host, Taylor. And we are in a different place.
We are.
We are in our brand new studio. There's a lot of work still to be done, but
we're here.
we are here. And with Taylor's baby here, we had no choice but to be kicked out because it's her room now.
Yep.
So we're here, right? Still have some different things we got to work out, some kinks, but we're excited. All right, especially having our first episode back in a couple of weeks. We have a fantastic guest. I am so excited. One of our great friends, right? Yeah, Miss Rebecca Barrett.
Hello,
Right?
hello.
She is a podcast and YouTuber, right? She has a wonderful YouTube channel. I am Rebecca Barrett. I think that is what what it is, right?
Just Rebecca Barrett.
Okay, so it's Rebecca Barrett, where you can go and watch all her great content where she just triggers feminists left and right. And then again, she's with our other great friend Jackie on the Probably Problematic podcast, where they talk about cultural issues and politics and all that kind of other stuff. So, Rebecca, we are again so excited. I've been waiting to I've been definitely very excited to do this. I know we've been going back and forth, right? Because we were like, oh, we'll do it this day, and then he has to, his wife has a baby and just throws everything off. So
babies come first, okay?
Yep.
Babies come first.
They are.
First comes love, then comes marriage.
Then comes that baby.
That's right. That's what's supposed to happen, and that's what we're gonna really focus on, and because that's what we talk about. That's what Rebecca focuses her channel on. So first thing is, Rebecca, I would just love for you to share your story, because you're someone that has gone from the dark side of feminism into the light of the trad life. So really, I think it'd be fun just to first share about yourself and then your story, kind of how you've gotten to where you are now, before we dive into other hosts of things that we want to talk about.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with where like feminism started for me. So when I was younger, I had infidelity in my family, and so I wanted to grow up and be a strong, independent woman. And I didn't want to rely on a man because I saw what relying on a man did for my mom. And so through high school, I graduated high school, went to a engineering school, and I got my mechanical engineering degree in robotics, and then worked in oil and gas for a couple years. So very male oriented. I was one of the guys, and that's when, the ideologies and all this stuff started piling up. And then I left that job and then went to start my first startup in New York. And New York is a wild place. I loved living in New York at the time. It's definitely not the same now post COVID, but I was like, I'm with my girls. Like, these women understand me. I was angry. I was bitter. I thought I had a huge chip on my shoulder. I wanted to be one of the guys sitting at the table and just building $1 billion business. So I had my first startup that I sold, and then I was working on my second startup. We had raised some money for that. But then right when the pandemic hit, I lost so many contracts because I was working on a female oriented like amenity kit for office bathrooms. So it was like the Sephora for office bathrooms.
Okay.
So I was very female, like I was in the trenches. Okay. I was going to the marches. I was going to the female conferences. I was going to the girl boss things, the Ford's event, like all of this stuff. I was engulfed in that, right? I had mentors that were women. It was the ideology just kept baking in. And then one day I was like, I mean, this was obviously multiple events. It wasn't just specifically one thing, but I was just like, this, like a lot of the things that they're saying doesn't match up with what I'm seeing and the reality. And like I'm not understanding. I started to question things, and then once I started
Mhm.
questioning them, they're like, well, why are you going against us? You're you know you're retaliating and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm so done with this. Like, I'm being shunned for asking questions and challenging
Right. Yeah.
belief systems, and telling them I'm not seeing this in real life. Can you explain where this is happening? Like the patriarchy and like the gender pay gap and all of these different things. And then I started reading Jordan Peterson books, and that the 12 Rules of Life completely changed my life. I started
Mm.
taking accountability, personal accountability for my own actions. And from there, it was, one step at a time, one day at a time. I met my husband during that time. We went to premarital counseling. And mind you, like, this is years of feminism just baked and layered on me. So it's not just, oh, okay, I'm done with feminism. It's a lot of unlearning. It's a lot of, getting that programming out of you. And it takes time. So over time, through premarital counseling and through marriage, I learned what it means to be a wife. My husband learned what it means to be a husband, and we started applying those principles to our life, biblical principles to our life, and we went from arguing all the time to, I wouldn't say marital bliss, but we definitely have a really good understanding relationship. And it's not nagging or complaining. And yeah, it's fun. It's exciting. It's, challenging, but super exciting. So that's kind of my journey. I know I kind of went all over the place, but if you guys want to jump into anything specific, I'd be happy to answer.
No, yeah, I know that was fantastic. I think what's interesting is it sounds like, although like you said, it was just little bits and pieces here where you're like, well, like that doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. But it also sounds like Jordan Peterson was a big, like, kind of crucial turning point for you, really taking that turn out of feminism in general. So I'm really curious because I'm actually listening to the audiobook of 12 Rules through again right now for the second time with my wife.
Hmm.
So what was it about the things that, Jordan talks about in that book, and really in a lot of just stuff that he says? What was it that started, or was there anything specific through there that made you kind of really make a hard turn away from feminism? Or was it again kind of like just like the kind of the drip drip slow, like, okay, well, now questioning here, or stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of points in the book, like make your bed, right? Like a simple concept. If you have to take care of your own house and you have to take care of your own issues. No one's going to come save you. No one's going to, just pick up your pieces. You need to do it for yourself. And for many years I always blamed everyone else for my issues. Oh, it was my dad. Oh, it was my mom. Oh, it was those, investors that didn't invest in my company. Oh, it was that man who held me back. And, I was constantly blaming everyone else for my issues and not taking accountability for what I'm doing. So it was a lot of things, but the feminist part, what gets me kind of upset is this whole, turf thing, like the trans agenda and how it's completely infiltrated the feminist movement and how women are literally getting a back seat to all of this. It's crazy. Like we're going to talk about Dylan Mulvaney, but it's nuts how this is just becoming the norm these days. So a lot of
Yeah.
these things are completely backwards, like are completely backwards. Things that are for women, spaces that are for women are being taken by men. Like that's the true patriarchy. I don't like what?
Right. That is the funny thing about all of this is you would think that the feminist movement would have been the loudest in this cultural debate, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, right? Of the fact that, like, hey, like, you have guys that are straight up, still have all their, plumbing,
Parts. They
right?
have all their parts.
Yeah, just walking around in a woman's locker room, right, with little girls around, all that kind of stuff, right? And our culture is so backwards, right, that a lot of this stuff for the left is whatever it takes to win. They're willing to give up, any sort of dignity or respect they have for themselves in order to do so.
Yeah.
And I think, what's really interesting, I guess, before I lose a thought on this, is when it comes to feminism or a lot of leftist thought, it directly contradicts a lot of the stuff that Jordan talks about, and this
Mhm.
is, why they hate him so much, right? Because, like you said, the simple accountability that he talks about, like starting with just cleaning your room, right,
Yeah.
and he talks through the psychology of the importance of that. It's,
Mhm.
again, personal responsibility is the most anti-left thing you can do with your life.
Mhm.
Just looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I am responsible for what is happening, right? My successes along with my failures come down to myself, right?
Mhm.
And it's a harder way to live, right? But it's a more fulfilling way to live, because, again, when the good things happen to you, right, you can put it on yourself, right? Just,
Mhm.
and again, with the failures, and what's funny about it too, it's actually much more freeing, is when it's on you. That means you have the answer and the solution to the problem, right? Because,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
think that's where a lot of leftists are in this mental trap, because they put the solution outside of themselves for everything, right? The government's going to take care of it, or whoever's going to take care of this for me,
Mhm.
right? And therefore they make themselves powerless,
Mhm.
right, in anything that we talk about, right? And ultimately that affects the rest of your life, right? That's why, in reality, for most people, right, that are I generally see on the left, they are not successful when it comes to their relationships, or when it comes to their career, right? Because they're busy, like, kind of like you were saying, Rebecca. Although you did have success in the areas that you were working in, right? Most people, right, they have none, and they just point fingers and blame everyone else, right? Where if they took a second and have a little accountability, they could take those steps forward, but they just choose not to. You
Yeah,
know what I
I
mean?
think I think in that same time too, I was listening to a lot of Gary Vee and like Tony Robbins and things like that.
Yeah.
So Gary Vee is literally like, get your shit together. It's all your fault. Like you needed to. So I guess the on the entrepreneurial side, I was doing that, but I would still, even though I was successful, I still found ways to blame others for things
Hmm.
that didn't happen to me or things that didn't happen for my company. And I think that a lot of women, specifically female founders, find themselves in that same area because I guess the overarching theme when you go to these conferences is, oh, men are taking our, roles, men are taking our money. And it's frustrating because, like, when you're in it, you look at every guy in the room and you are, just miserable around them. You look at them with like a snar face. And a lot of the female founders that I was close with at the time were having problems with their relationships, obviously, because they, go from hating men to then they wanted to like control the relationships. They wanted to be the
Hmm.
dominant one in the relationships. And I've found that that doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work when a woman tries to dominate and control the relationship, to wear the pants in the relationship. And so you would see these successful, right, on paper and in the media, they were successful startup founders, female founders, but they had hard time collaborating with men. And not to mention their friendships and their um and the relationships. And I also felt like there was always some tension between the female founders. Like there was always this competitive friction within the group. You know, one girl wanted to up another girl, and so she would make some side remarks. It was so weird. And so I also distanced myself from it because it was so toxic. Like the toxicity in these spaces just permeate, and that's why you see all of these miserable people, and they start becoming ugly. Like if you saw pictures of me, if you saw pictures of me, which I think you guys have, of my like hardcore feminist days when I shaved my head and dyed my hair multiple colors, and I literally wanted to become more masculine because I thought that that would be more appealing to the investors that I was dealing with, to the men that I was in these rooms with. Like, oh, they need to see me as a threat. They need to see me as like a legitimate threat, you know? And that was a lot of the thought processes that I had. And a lot of these things were conflicting with my personal change, like the personal journey that I was going on. It was weird because on one side, I would come home and cry myself to sleep because I felt like I was playing a character. And on the other hand, I had to play this character, play, you know, badass Becca, like all the names that they gave me. And I had to be like the one that always had it together, the girl who had all the answers. And I'm like, that's just, you know, that was a part, that was like a facade. And the you know, the strength that I had, a lot of it was, you know, listening to that fake it till you make it
Mm-hmm.
um talk that a lot of founders have to go through. And I'm like, I'm faking it till I make it, but it's killing me on the inside.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
not good. This is not good for my mental health at all. Now I don't have to fake it till I make it. Like literally, I am the way that I am. If you like it or don't, that's what it is. Like you're gonna get me, whether we're online or offline. I am the same way. And that's something that is so freeing today, that I don't have to be bound by that facade, by that character that I had to embody for that time. Because it gets exhausting. You're like, I'm playing this. It's like the mask, right? You put
Mhm.
on the mask and you become
Right.
something different. And at the time, too, I was drinking a lot, I was partying. I was just, they called me Blackout Bex. Like, what a great name, right? Like,
Oh,
what a,
yikes.
you know, so it was definitely a journey of just understanding like who I am, right? And stripping myself from these ideologies that literally have been baking in since my childhood. So,
Mhm.
I'm going to leave it there.
No, that's good.
Yeah. Well, you know, what's interesting is, you know, because I talk to people about this when I have like personal conversations, you know, when it comes to talking with young women is, you know, and I don't pretend to have all the answers or ever be an expert, but, you know, uh, it seems to me, right, that there is a balance that can be met, right, when it comes to women trying to achieve the things they want to. Because, and
Mhm.
I say this because what I see, right, when I just look around me, whether it's on social media or things like that,
Mhm.
women in general are not happy, right?
Yeah.
They're very kind of like you're talking. They're very bitter. They're angry. Um, except for right the women who are they're married and have children, right? And I'm not saying their lives are perfect, and all that kind of stuff, but they seem just generally happier than women who are uh you know, not married, don't have children. And when I ever have a conversation with a young woman, if they're, you know, in their, you know, 20, you know, early 20s, whatever, I tell them, like, look, whatever you want to accomplish, you can do it, right? No one's going to stop you, right? You can absolutely do whatever it is you put your mind to. But I'll say, but the fulfillment you're looking for is going to be in marriage and having children.
Mhm.
Now that you can't be happy, right? Now that you can't feel some sense of pride in what you
Mhm.
do, but the reality is, down to your core, psychologically, biologically, you will always feel an emptiness that you cannot replace,
Mhm.
right? And we can sit and say that's not fair. Well, men can do that. It's like, well, just we're different.
It's well, that's the thing that people don't understand. And this is like where our culture just really wants to dissociate from our biology. Our
Mhm.
biology is completely different. Like, yes, of course, there are a lot of similarities, but where the differences are, there are major differences. Just
Right,
even how our brains are wired and our hormones, right? And so I think for a lot of women, they see, well, they always say men can do it. Men can sleep around. Men can wait until later on to get married and have kids. Yes, because they are not biologically wired to have like to produce a child in their womb. Like, we have a certain number of eggs for our whole lifetime as a woman, right?
right,
And every cycle we have, you know, every year that we get older, we have less eggs, and the likelihood of getting pregnant becomes slimmer and slimmer.
Mhm.
And
hmm
that's just the reality. Like, there's nothing that we can do, or, like, if you have a problem with it, take it up with God, you
Right.
know? And a lot of people are using that as the general excuse. And I think it's a bunch of BS, because like, you can't change your skin color. You were born in the body that you were born in, even though they're telling you that you can switch genders and you can be gender fluid, and you still see people struggling mentally because it's all here. It's all
right,
here. It
right,
Mhm.
doesn't matter what's happening down here. All of these conversations are happening between your ears, right? And how you feel about yourself. And we went from, as a society, to saying, yes, men and women are different biologically,
Mhm.
to, oh, men and women are exactly the same and should be treated the same, to now gender is fluid, and you can just switch between whatever you want, and you don't have to have gender dysphoria to be trans. What?
right,
Like, I'm so confused by what's going on. So we went from saying, everything, like, now you don't have to have gender dysphoria to become trans. So we
Mhm.
went from being, oh, we are biologically different and that makes sense, right? To now you can just choose whatever gender you want to be, and they're assigning your gender at birth wrong. Just like, what?
right. I
Well, it's
know.
funny because me and my wife, we just had birth. Well, she had birth, I had a kid, whatever. Um, they come to your room and they ask, like, okay, what did you just have? Like, how do you want to write it down? It's not just
Shut up.
no. I mean, it may vary from hospital to hospital, but Houston Methodist, shout out. I don't know. Did they do that with you? Because you were
Uh,
No.
just there as well.
I don't remember them asking.
Well, they come
Like,
in for like the birth certificate thing, and it's
well,
like,
I maybe they just said maybe they. I think they just asked, did you have a boy or a girl? I don't think they went.
no, they were like, okay, and do they identify as a boy, girl, or
No, did they really ask?
non-binary or
Do they
whatever?
identify?
Yeah. So
Stop it
No,
right
stop, bro.
now.
That's okay.
the
That's
the
true.
clerk or servant,
Okay,
whoever came in for that,
if that's true, okay, that means between my son being born, which was 7 months ago, to your daughter being born, right? They are asking what you want the child.
yeah,
That
it's
is
crazy.
bonkers to me. Again, yeah, this is we're talking about Houston Methodist, one of the largest hospital
Chains,
chain.
companies,
Well, it's the
whatever.
biggest one in Houston, I believe, for sure. That's wild.
But
That's
see, I don't know
wild to
if
me.
that's personal choice. I don't know if it's that worker who comes in and they have their own script for it because they're more woke, or if it's like you were saying, some new policy. I mean, you think with the hospital, it's pretty much this is the line. But
If
You would think we
if
can't
your
rely
child
on
has
medical professionals.
if your child has female genitals or your child has male genitals, it's pretty clear. Okay, let's come on. Can we snap back to reality, please? I am so sick and tired of this woke BS. It is
we're
infuriating.
talking
It
all the way
is
down to a birth certificate now. So at birth, you can put them down
absolutely
as
not.
other now. Like,
Yeah.
how does that work later on in life if they change their mind? How does it work if they go to jail? How does that mean? You need to
They have
identify
no
people.
idea. Well, no, it's now gender X.
Right.
Dylan Mulvaney, he got his first driver's license that says gender X. What do you like? I think that's worse. Imagine like if you have
Because
gender
it means
dysphoria,
nothing. Yeah, it means
you are
nothing.
X.
Well, imagine this. There's a reason why you need to know. Okay, let's just say this Dylan guy gets into a car accident.
You can
top you off as
top me
well.
off a little
Let's
bit
just
as
say he
well.
gets into a car accident. The car
God.
explodes and goes,
Are we doing-
becomes like his body's beyond recognition, and they need to like figure out what he is. They find his ID or whatever. It's like, oh well, he's gender X. How do we identify that? You know what I mean? It's
what they're gonna do because he's would be dead in this scenario, right? Is
they're going to
say
go
he's
back
a
to the coroner's
man.
office. They're going to do an autopsy. Well, he was born a biological male, but he identifies as gender X, so it must be.
Well,
Like,
he was bragging in one of his recent TikToks about normalizing women with bulges, so it's gonna be very clear what he is.
but
So we'll just.
is that even a woman though at that point?
I don't.
What is a
I
woman?
still try to figure out what a woman is. I watched the documentary from Matt Walsh. I still can't figure this out. Right? We should just dive on into this. So this really gets to what you were saying about, the left like to talk about the war on women, right?
Mhm.
The war on women, right? They, whether it's the the Dobbs decision that came down, this or that, the wage gap, all of it. And what's funny is they are correct. There is a war on women, but they're waging it upon themselves. Right? It's like they're
Yes.
like punching themselves in the face and then looking at the right or everyone else, normal. I'll just say normal people, and saying, "Why are you hitting me?" And they're like, "I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about." So this has been huge. You are like you're out of the loop on this. So Dylan Mulvaney is a very famous person on TikTok, which is not
Mhm.
saying much, but he has 8 million or whatever followers, which is just wild. Now, granted, many of those are probably bots, to be honest, because TikTok is a Chinese company and the Chinese hate us, so they'll do anything to subvert the United States. So most of those followers probably aren't real people. However, the reality is he's still being pushed, right? To the point where he was at the White House. Was it this last week, I think, right?
Yes.
Right.
Talking
So
to geriatric Joe.
That's good. That's good.
That's not the one that went to the White House with Jen Psaki, is it?
No,
that was
a
another
PR thing.
dude that was
That was another one of them. Okay,
Yeah,
got
no.
it.
So this happened this past week. Okay, here's where the Dylan Mulvaney controversy really, I think, comes to this the crux of it. He was on, what was it, Ulta Beauty podcast or something like that. Everyone's got a
Yes.
podcast nowadays. You think people would find something better to do with their
Amateurs.
lives? Anyway, so he gets on this podcast, right? And Ulta Beauty, right, is a women's makeup line, right? Because women wear makeup. And he, along with this other man, do this podcast talking about like the wonders of girlhood or something like that, right? Well,
Yes.
I don't remember what.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. Well, you're here. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So Ulta. Okay. Here's the thing. These makeup companies and these, because Ulta and Sephora, they actually have multiple makeup brands and whatnot in their stores, right?
Right.
But basically Dylan was saying, oh, well, of course I can be a mom. Like someday I'm going to be a mom. And what the issue that people are taking is, listen, we know that gay people have been using makeup for a long time. We know that it's been pushed for at least over a decade, 2 decades, right? This is something that's normal. And
Right. They even have a guy
drag was
wearing,
normal.
makeup in the commercial for Sephora. Have you seen the new commercial?
No, I don't watch TV.
Yeah. Well, I was in the hospital for a while, so I saw a lot of cases.
We did see I did see that commercial, where it's like it's like a black woman
Yeah, the
like a
Asian
white
guy
woman.
doing the eyeliner.
Yeah, and then an Asian looking guy. It's like, what are we doing?
But even
No.
that is like fine, but
That's fine. But I have an issue when a man is appropriating women. Like, what we are mothers, okay?
Mhm.
You don't have to necessarily birth a baby out to be a mother. But if you are a woman, that is a right. That is something that, like, is the next step into your, adulthood. That's a beautiful thing. And it's being taken by trans appropriators. Like,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
remember Blair White actually talks about this. She's like, I remember when trans people just wanted to blend into society, right? And now they are creating just such internal and they're just creating so much commotion, right? That people don't want to associate with them. Not even their own trans community or gay people. Gay people, lesbians, like they want to drop the T's
Yeah.
because of how problematic they are. And Matt Walsh even says this, and I never really thought about this until he said it, but it's like blackface for women.
No, that's a good analogy. That's a
Yeah,
good.
It's
100%.
like, stop appropriating our things, and then they're stripping us of our womanhood, right? Calling us birthing people, chest feeders, all this other stuff. So as a woman, I have to now be called a birthing person, but you can be called a mother as a
Yeah.
trans person. And then one of my subscribers actually said, it's interesting how they're pushing biological women to have abortions, but then you're having trans men or trans women say that they want to make families and have babies and become mothers. It is psychological warfare. And if you don't understand that, you are still sleeping, my friend.
Yeah. It just
Like,
doesn't make
they
sense.
are telling women that it's empowering biological women who can't have babies and do have babies and abort them to abort them and say that it and call it female empowerment. But then on the other hand, you have trans people that are saying, I want family. And you have, it's just, it's mind boggling to me. And it makes me, it makes my head spin sometimes. I'm like, what clown world are we living in?
Right,
Truly.
right. Well, I mean, it just goes to kind of like what I was saying. It's like that's where that the war on. It's not even necessarily. It's not just war on women. It's war on femininity at its core, right? Because the reality is, right, there is nothing more more feminine than giving birth, right? Having a child is the epitome of femininity, right? Which is why the left um attacks it so much, because that is the core aspect of womanhood. Is
Yeah.
being able to rear and bear a child, because it's as was it, I think Ben Shapiro says, it's like a superpower, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it's incredible.
When I birthed my daughter, I felt like I was Superwoman. I literally said that to my husband. I'm like, I'm a badass bitch. Like, I was like, I'm a bitch. Like,
You
I'm
made something. Yeah.
like, not only did this baby like form in my belly,
Mhm.
right? It was nourished for 42 weeks with my, body. And then I birthed this baby. And, like, granted, I did this all natural, and all birth is beautiful. I'm just gonna put it out there, okay? All birth is beautiful and it's unique to you. But when I birthed this baby, and I was like, I freaking did it. You know what I mean? I freaking birthed this mother effing baby from me. I was like, I feel so like that was the most beautiful, glorious moment of my life. And I felt unstoppable for like weeks. I was like, oh my gosh, like I could do anything because I birthed a baby. And I was like, this is the best. You know what it is? It's crazy to me that that society has convinced women that giving birth and having babies is a trap and a
Right.
trap in a jail sentence. When honestly, having my daughter was the best thing that ever happened to me. Of course, I went through like postpartum, and many women do, right? But once you get through the
Mm-hmm.
other side, I like I've I was always meant to be a mom. And for the longest time, I suppressed that. I said, "Oh, I'm never going to be a mom. I don't want kids. Kids are gross, blah, blah, blah." And now I'm the best mom. And I can say that confidently because I literally love my daughter. Like, I don't, it's something that I can't even explain. I can't even explain to you the love I have for my little baby. She's the best thing that ever happened to my life. And I'm so grateful for my husband because like we live the best life and he provides that. But like this little girl completely took my heart. I
Mhm.
like
Mm-hmm.
she completely changed me and made me a mature woman. Like I feel different. And a lot of women won't feel that way. I was actually speaking to my mother in law, and she's like, I have a lot of friends in their 40s, 50s, 60s that never had kids, and they are miserable women.
Right.
Miserable. They're like, she's like, I can't even be around them because it's, they're so annoying and they're always mad. And it makes sense. Like you were told to advance in your career. You were told that you don't need a man. You were told that you can do this all by yourself and that you children are crappy. Like why would you want them? And then you finally got to that point and you're like, crap, I am by myself. I don't have kids. I got to the biggest pinnacle I could at my in my career. And what does it get you? Like what is it really going to get you?
Nothing
Your
lasting.
your nice little apartment
Exactly.
in the middle of downtown by yourself, all
Exactly.
alone, right? Or
Drinking
you
your
do your
bottle of wine, drinking your bottle of wine, you know,
eating your charcuterie board
yeah,
with
like
your other
do
miserable friends.
Well,
and talking crap about other women.
Mm-hmm.
right.
It's nuts.
Because what happens is other women, even if they were the same mindset, eventually many move on. Many do have kids or find a guy that changes them because they thought they were going to be, single and girl power forever. And they find someone who changes them and they settle down. And eventually you're alone. Girl power is like one power. And then you feel alone.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I think about two things with that. So I told you this last time we got together is my wife and I watched When Harry Met Sally recently. It's a very interesting movie. I think everybody should go watch it because there's
Brittany
two.
just finished it the other day,
It's very
yesterday.
number one. It's just a very good film. Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan are great,
Mhm.
but also number one, this movie's from the '80s, and it absolutely shows what it's like for women that buy into the lie of focusing on your career. But it also shows you that they realize it's a lie and that they're what they actually want. Because the I had to pause the movie. Both Christina and I had to pause it because we couldn't believe it. Because I think one of the most important scenes in the movie, and it doesn't probably dawn on most people, is when Harry and Sally see each other after they've both separated from their his spouse and then her boyfriend. Is because she tells a story about how she was with her friend's daughter, and her friend's daughter points out a family, and uh, Sally starts getting upset because she has a realization, right? Because she has this boyfriend, they're living in New York, and they have all this freedom, right? They have no kids, they can travel whenever they want to, all this kind of stuff. And she has this realization that what she really wanted all along was a family, was someone to take care of. And when she brings this up to her boyfriend, right, he's like, "Yeah, I'm not about it," right? And then they break up, and now she's put in 5+ years into this relationship,
Mhm.
right? And she's left with nothing. He
Mhm.
goes off, but then also the next scene, also that's important, is that later in the movie, he tells her, he gives her the news that he is getting married, and tells her that it's not that he didn't want to get married, he didn't want to get married
To
to
her.
you,
Mhm.
right? And we were just profoundly just blown away by these two messages in this movie because it shows you, number one, if they don't want to marry you, right? It's not that they don't like marriage; it's they don't like you, right? Which is a
Yep.
hard pill to swallow. But also, for a lot of women, they're lying to themselves, right? And again, I always say is like it doesn't mean you can't do other stuff with your life, right? But again, the fulfillment you have, like what you've described, Rebecca, like and even like for men, I think we thought about this too. Is for men, like the fulfillment you have from having a family and having children is going to be more fulfilling for you than anything you do professionally.
Hmm.
Because it changes your life. What
And
this
it
when these
also
people
makes you work harder for your family. Like
that too.
my husband says his purpose is to make us live a good life. Like that's what he
Hmm.
wants,
Hmm.
and it's a greater purpose than just working for himself or, doing stuff to buy cool toys. Like that, yeah, that's a part of it, but like if that's all you did, of course it's going to get old if you don't have someone to come home to, your
Hmm.
kids to love you and say, Daddy's home. Like, just being excited. And I think, too, society really paints the picture of that miserable family. And so
Right.
you
Yeah.
like have this depiction of like the stupid father, the obviously amazing wife, and then the daughter who's the smartest one in the family, right? Like
Right.
this
Yeah.
is literally every sitcom,
Yeah.
every cartoon from the 90s to the early 2000s of what we saw. So like if your only programming is crappy families, of course that's not what you want. And
Right.
I can see I can see how people can think, "Oh, of course I'm going to have a a the worst husband or a crappy family, and she's going to leave me and he's going to cheat," because that's what they see. That's what they see
Right.
on TV. That's what they see in the media, because those things are the things that they want to push to the forefront.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, all of these different agendas, feminism, uh, the trans movement, the BLM, all of that stuff, right? All of it's leading to the destruction of the nuclear family because
Right.
they want you to be gender X. They want you to be a number. They want you to not rely on your family because if you don't rely on your family, guess what? The government owns you.
Hmm.
And
Right.
that's exactly what they want. They don't want mothers homeschooling their children. They
No.
don't. They
Well,
No.
they
want you
don't
to
want
go
That's why.
to
fathers.
school.
They're trying to push laws to make it harder and harder, or in some states impossible to do so. And it's really funny you say that too, because we talked about that in our last episode from the soon to be prime minister of Italy from her speech
Mhm.
was an incredible speech because she said the same thing you just said, which is the more they can make you an individual, right?
Mhm.
That is just a stamped number, right? The easier it is to manipulate and utilize you, right, in whatever
Mhm.
way they see fit in the grand plan that the state or corporations have for you, right? Because they make her what did you say? Like these things put you in to make you the perfect consumer,
Consumer, right? And
right?
we got the test. We got stage 1, which was COVID. They wanted to see how people are going to react.
It was
They
just two
want to
weeks. What are you
see
talking about?
Yeah, you're right.
they wanted to see how people were going to react. They wanted to see what kind of resistance they were going to get. This was all like, you can call me a conspiracy theorist, whatever, I don't care. This was all pre-planned, pre-staged in order to test the waters. How convincing can we get people to fall into these movements? And guess what? They're winning. If you think that these agendas aren't being pushed and isn't happening around you, like, you need to wake up. You need to smell the roses and understand that, like, it's an attack, right? It's an attack. And I think the normal people are being like, why doesn't anyone else see what we're seeing? Like,
Well, and then
Yeah.
there's been certain people who call it out but the majority aren't saying anything. I mean, you get people like the McAfee, the MyPillow guy. Like, there's some
Mm-hmm.
people who are trying to use their power and their influence to speak to their audience that they've created, and they're being shut down or they're being
Where they're
casted as
being
crazy.
rated by the FBI or all these kind of things.
Yeah.
But
And
it's right in front of our face, like you were saying, Rebecca.
I think people want to live in. They want to have a sense of security that they can trust these institutions,
They want to
right?
be an autopilot. That's how they
Well,
were operating
well,
before.
yeah. I mean, think about. I mean, I know for
It's
myself.
easier to be blissfully unaware, and people live their life
Exactly.
easy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, think about. I mean, I wouldn't even think myself. I mean, the way I think about the thing, the world of different things, post COVID. I mean, is way different than 2019.
One
Like
hundred percent.
2019 me and 2020, what it about to be 2023 me would be like,
Who
whoa,
is this
whoa,
person?
who are you? What
Yeah.
happened? Partially, I had two more
Same.
kids, but but it's like it's bizarre. It's just wild, right? And but what gives me hope though is I do think
There is no hope.
Yes,
well,
there
there
is.
is always
Stop
hope.
being.
There is always hope, right? Well, because I think about it in a couple of different ways, right? Because I look around, like even a simple answer or example was my wife and I went to the first playoff game between the Astros and the Yankees last week, and I remember we were in the stands,
Thanks
and
for the invite.
well, my
I mean, I
uncle.
just had a kid, but I would have gone.
Well, hey, like look, all right. I got the text
World
that
Series
morning.
Friday though.
I know.
Anyways.
Strozen 4. Anyway, so I remember looking around, right? It's a stadium of, I don't know, like 20, 30,000 people,
Okay.
right? No one's wearing a mask, right? And we live in Houston, right? No one's wearing
Yeah.
a mask, right? Everyone's laughing, having a great time. So so part of me is I look around the world, I'm like, everything's going to hell in a handbasket and it's all coming to an end. But also I have those moments where,
You
there
see
are
hope. You
yeah,
see
I
a
do.
glimmer.
There
Yeah.
there are things that actually unify people, and again, sports can be seen as very silly sometimes in the grand scheme of things. But being around, we were around all these people, and they were all smiling. We were talking, and we were all enjoying each other, high fiving and sharing this experience. And it's like when you have those moments, you realize. I think in two things. Number one, most people are actually really great people.
Yes.
When given the opportunity to just enjoy life. Then also, it's that most people have gotten over a lot of this
Well,
stuff,
everybody
right?
has their own problems. The media and the
Mm-hmm.
government want to divide us. So when you're watching a TV screen, it's easy to feel like, oh crap, everybody's out to get us.
Mm-hmm.
The thing, to your point, when I hear you say it, it just paints a perfect picture, is the fact that what people need is to get away from the microscope and to see the big picture, to get out, boots on the ground kind of thing. What rallies people together is similarities. They need a sense of like what is it, camaraderie?
Yeah,
Camaraderie.
yeah,
Yeah,
camaraderie, yeah.
some kind of like banner to rally behind, a rally cry, like whether it's sports, whether it's 9/11, we just got attacked. They need something to realize that we are the same, and like we all have the same problems. We don't need to be typecast and segregated because a TV screen tells us.
Right, and I think that's what
I
goes to
think.
your point, Rebecca. Was like they attack a lot of these different things because they can be unifying
Mm-hmm.
for the average person, right? And if people are more unified, they're harder to control in a lot of ways.
Absolutely, and I think too. I think us, you guys, me, we are very much into the social media and we're talking about these
Mm-hmm.
topics all the time. So sometimes it can be really easy to not see the beauty in the world still. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh
Because
yeah. Yeah.
we have to consume a lot of this content in order to make content around
Yeah.
it. And so it's sometimes overwhelming because I have to shut off too.
You have to have a thick
And
sleeve. Yeah.
yeah, and I look around and I'm like, most people I think have good intentions. You know what I mean? Like, yes, of course there's terrible people out there in the world, but I think like if I go to Target, I'm not seeing someone that I'm trying to fight, you know? You know, I'm just
Well, it's like
walking
road
down.
rage.
Yeah, I'm
Somebody can
just like
cut you
walking.
off, and you can be
Yeah.
mad and think, I'm going to run them off the road. I'm going to flick them off. You're not thinking that this person has a wife or a kid or anything,
Yes.
has their own, maybe they're having a bad day or late for work like I am. But that's what the media is doing too. Like they want you to see
Yes.
just the moment. They don't want you to back up and be like, this person's like me.
And a
So
lot of these people, to be completely honest, a lot of these people, especially that identify as like woke and trans and feminists, a lot of them come from broken families. A lot of them don't
Absolutely.
have fathers in their houses to breathe life into them and relationships
Mm-hmm.
with their moms to like feel that sense of security. And so they use social media as therapy. They go and find these groups on TikTok and they're like, oh, there's a community of people like me. That's my family. You see it with
Mm-hmm.
like fat TikTok, trans TikTok, non-binary TikTok. Like there's literally a community for everyone. And so sometimes as much as it's a good thing, right? Like, oh, there's someone there that's like me. It can get toxic and
Mm-hmm.
you see these like groups fighting with other groups and these groups fighting internally and it gets a little hairy, but again I think a lot of it is because people are hurting and they're trying to find an answer, and really the true answer is going to God, like
Amen.
trusting
100%.
trusting in God. And a lot of people are trying to find the purpose of their life, trying to find the meaning of their life, and they're
yeah.
having these existential crises, and they are looking to the world, they're looking to other people to fill their cup, when at the end of the day, like, you're the person that needs to fill your own cup. You need to be the one that is driving your happiness, and it's not going to come from external sources. It's going to come from your relationship with God. And that's really it. Like, you can't find it anywhere else. Um, and I think that's what we're seeing in a grand scale. And I hope that this brings more people to Christ. I know just post pandemic, a lot of people have doubled down in their faith, and it's really encouraging to see because they're looking for something greater than themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and a greater purpose to their life here and how to fulfill that. And I've actually had amazing conversations with people who have always been like anti religion, anti, all of these different things, like find the courage to reach out to me and be like, hey, like, I know you used to be like this and I've seen your changes, and like I've made my own changes too. And it's so cool and encouraging to see, because I think that's at the end of the day what people are looking for. And I mean, it talks about that in the Bible. Like, people are going to be searching far and wide for the meaning of their life.
Right.
And they really just have to turn to God. Like, that's where you're going to find your purpose. That's where you're going to find your identity. That's where you're going to find it.
Right. No, 100%. I mean, I don't think I could have said it any better than that. I mean, when because I think about, and you can see it in on the meme pages and stuff that I'm sure we follow, you follow too, is that, whenever you see these pictures of these rallies, right, you see these crazy leftists, right, and it is funny. I'm not gonna say it's not funny because it is.
Oh, it's funny.
But after I laugh, I'll look at it. You see these usually it's young women, right, just screaming and angry. And the first thing I think is that, number one, like I said, I already know, right? You have a bad relationship with your parents, especially your father, 100% guaranteed. But also, you are so the internally you are just so broken, right? And we're all
Mm-hmm.
broken, right? I mean, all sin and fall short of the glory of God, right? So there's no
Mm-hmm.
one that can save that. But I can see the brokenness and the pain and the
Mm-hmm.
suffering that they're going through internally.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart because I know that if they took a moment, like you said, and said, and looked at going to Christ and putting those things at the foot of the cross and giving it to him, they would have that sense of fulfillment that they're desperately longing for, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
desperately looking for someone to love them, right? At the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, that's what That's what human beings are looking for,
Mhm.
right? We are made in love, right? And we are made for love, and we are desperately seeking it. And we'll look for it anywhere we can be, even when it's counterfeit, right? And all these
Mhm.
communities that say, oh, like, well, we'll accept you, right? I know your parents won't or whatever, right? We'll bring you in, right? But ultimately, there is this hole in their heart and their soul that no matter how many things they throw at it, you just can't fill it without God. It
Mhm.
is, and again, kind of like you were saying, like I grew up, a person of faith, right? Went to church every Sunday, but the past couple of years, like I've doubled down and become the right wing extremist they talk about on MSNBC, right? I am because it has, I know what it's done for my life, and I know that for all these people, it would change their life, and they would find the joy that they are so desperately looking for, and it's not just happiness; it's authentic joy, right? Because happiness comes and goes,
Mhm.
right? Each day, all of us live. We're ups and downs. There's this and
Yeah.
that stuff at work. Your kids do this. Your spouse does this. Right? All these kind of things. Happiness comes and goes. Right? And this is why I love Jordan a lot as well. Is that life is suffering a lot of the time,
Yes. Yes.
and so when you have happiness, you should hold on to it, recognize it, and appreciate it. But life is suffering, and so what do you do to deal with the suffering that life is going to throw at you? And without God, without Jesus, I don't know how you can. Right? Like I watch people's brains just melt and break during the COVID pandemic because they're isolated, right? They don't have their brunches. They didn't have this. All these things were taken from them, right? And they had
Mhm.
rejected God. They rejected all these things. And so when you're left with nothing, you just go into this spiral of despair,
Yes.
right? Of complete despair because you don't know what to do anymore. You don't know what
Mhm.
to do. You are just in this void,
Mhm.
right? Of loneliness, of brokenness, with nowhere, nothing to do. And I truly think, like, again, I make fun of a lot of people sometimes with the COVID stuff, but I think for a lot of them, their brain like malfunctioned, right? I don't mean that in a
Yeah.
mean way,
No.
but like because they didn't have any other way to process what was happening.
Yeah, they weren't
Yeah.
grounded.
They
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't grounded in anything, and so because they had a um a foundation of sand, right?
Yes.
They just withered away.
Mhm.
They just withered
Well, they
away.
had nothing concrete. There was the recurring theme from today's episode that I'm really taking away is fulfillment. I mean, whether you're talking about family, whether you're talking about religion, like, you need that sense of purpose. As a man, um, instead of chasing tail, like we're hardwired because men have to chase and women,
Mhm.
hold all the cards. Once you get that family, I mean, you have this sense of drive. Like, I have to succeed, otherwise my family will fail. Like, that
Mhm.
drive's there, that fulfillment's there. Without that, I mean, what are you? You're just a person without direction. I mean, maybe you're happy in the short term, but you're not fulfilled. You just have these vices, and what COVID did was take away those vices, and people realize how empty they were inside.
Or in some areas, those vices got worse. I mean, when you think
Right.
about the amount of people that absolutely have gotten close to and are not alcoholics, and
Oh
now
yeah.
abusing drugs, right? The amount of
Or
opioid deaths,
depressed.
depression is just
Dep-
through the roof.
Yeah.
yes.
Absolutely.
I've seen it's incredible to see, like, they talk about the COVID numbers, right? They weren't talking about the opioid numbers. They weren't talking
Right.
about the deaths due to fentanyl. They weren't talking about the deaths due to all of the drugs that people were taking and the alcoholism. It's insane. Like, when you have nothing to stand on, if you have nothing to have, to give you hope and a direction, a purpose, you are going to flounder. And in that floundering, you might, you know, my husband's an um, my husband's an addict. Like, he he has 4 years clean, and so seeing, we saw friends die. We saw
Mhm.
friends literally die during the pandemic, and it wasn't due to COVID. It was due to drug addiction
Mhm.
and just feeding their vices. And if it's not that, it's pornography and OnlyFans and shopping, online shopping. Do you know how many women I know that were like going ham, buying everything on Amazon, like parcels showing up at their house every like hour, it seemed. And it's
It goes
crazy
about
because
the consumerism, though.
yeah, the consumerism, like
Well, it's coping mechanisms, right? I mean,
exactly. And again, none of these things are going to fulfill you. Like the only thing that can fulfill you is God. And then, he gives us the ability to have family. And that's why I hold my family so close. I lost my dad in 2021, you know, after my wedding. And it was crazy because I was like, I can't believe I'm 4 months into being newlywed and I lost my dad. Like, I felt like I, got the wind knocked out of me. And then in the same year I got pregnant with our daughter, and it was a miracle. Like, I'm just I hold on to my family so tightly because honestly, like, that's the way that we have to show love to each other here. Like, that's our
hmm
humanly love to each other, right? It's
hmm
our family. And God gives us that. He's like, these are your people that you love, that like if something ever happened to them, like your life would be crushed. And
yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. It can also be the worst thing. And I've seen families completely break apart due to COVID. I've seen families isolate themselves from other family members because they didn't get the vaccine, or they don't believe in COVID, or
Hmm.
all this other stuff. And so um you know these last couple years have made people either wake up or double down in their coping mechanisms. And you see a
hmm
lot of these people that are woke. It's funny that they call themselves woke. Like, I think that's the funniest part to me, right? The woke left.
Right,
Because
because they are asleep at the wheel, man.
yeah, they are asleep. They literally took melatonin for the rest of their life and they're knocked out. Okay. Um, is yeah, it's these people are just hungry for something. They're hungry for meaning and they're trying to find it in all the wrong places.
hmm
Um, and it's really sad to see. It is kind of funny in the moment, but it
Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
is very
Like
sad.
I do yeah, like I get like momentarily like, it makes you chuckle because I'm like these people are out of their mind. Like they are wacky, right? Like I think what was it like the most recent one going around is Alex
Alex
Stein.
Stein,
Yeah, was
yeah.
that something and this psychotic young girl like was screaming at him and then she spit on him and all this kind of stuff, right?
If Jackie was here, she would say that that girl was demon possessed.
But the funniest thing I saw with the meme was it was her, and then it said above her it said your daughter, and then it said her mom or the daughter, her mom, and it was that one like crazy looking leftist from like 4 years ago with glasses and short hair.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
like with the crazy big eyes. If I saw the picture, everybody would know what I'm
They
talking
were
about. But then,
side by side. That's
yeah,
the new meme. That's
that's the new one.
who's
Yeah, she's
taking their
taking the
place.
baton. Yeah, she's taking the baton. But it said like daughter, mom, and then it said grandma, and it had a picture of like
The
Elizabeth
redhead.
Warren.
Oh,
But it
okay.
had a daughter of Elizabeth Warren. But yeah, the redhead. That's a clap, man. Man, 20 like leftist circa 2016 were so much. It was so much fun. It
I
was
know.
so fun. Like all like, those memes will live in infamy forever. Like it was oh man, what a time to be alive. 2016. Oh, it was so good. I'll never forget. I'll never forget waking up that morning seeing Donald Trump won and just like have
I
to
was the
see people.
opposite. I was the opposite then.
You
Remember,
were
I
still
was
feminine. So
yeah.
you were the person I was laughing at
Yes,
on
I was
social
at the
media
marches.
because you were the person that was screaming, face melting because a man worse than Hitler has gotten in control of the United States government. Oh man.
That
So
was
oh
me.
man.
I
Like,
own that.
that's
I
so
own
oh
that.
man. That's so funny. I mean, but just think about that transformation though between like at that point and now, was it like 6 years later? You
Yeah.
know, you like I mean, what an incredible like journey, right? And again, like we're not pretending like we're always right about stuff, but I will say generally speaking, okay,
We're right. I'm just kidding.
yeah, I mean, basically, yes. I mean, here's the thing, right? It's
It's
like,
not
like
funny
you
as
want to
it
be happy in life,
seems.
you should listen to us. I mean, that's what I'm telling you because, you know, you're again, everything else in life is so temporary, right? But
Yeah.
having a family, having kids, being married, right? That's amazing. Like for me, like spending the evenings with my wife, right, is incredible, right? Like, and I
It's the
see,
best part of the day.
it is the best part of the day.
I mean, your
Yeah.
company's all right, but
It's only once a week, so it's
yeah,
all right. You know,
we'll
it's
make
Yeah,
it work.
Taylor's like, I have to deal with you too.
yeah, it's just once a week. You know, it's all right. You know, but you know, it's incredibly, you know, just amazing. You know, every day of being married, it gets better. You know, it really does when you focus in on investing in your marriage and doing the thing to be, you know, how can I be better, right? Kind of the Jordan Peterson approach, right? You know, be not comparing yourself to other people, but comparing yourself to your past self, like, you know, getting
Yeah.
1% better per day, right? As, you know, in what you do for work, but then also, you know, as a father or as a mother, husband, wife, right? Your life will just be more fun. Like I was talking to, we were having a conversation, Christina and I, just about like, we're in such a great place, you know, and we, you know, we have issues in China, just like everyone else, but it's like, you know, we've always made a focus in our marriage to always get better, right?
Hmm.
Always improve, always see, you know, what can I do to be a better husband, better wife? And when you have that sort of relationship with your spouse,
Hmm.
you just have this incredibly fulfilling relationship, right? Where it truly does get better and better. We're to the point where, you know, some people that we know, you know, as well, almost give us a hard time, make fun of us because they're like, you know, why you guys are always seem so happy. You guys seem, it's like, well, I mean, we did decide to marry each other, so
We're
yeah, you
having
know,
a good
we,
time. Like,
yeah,
what?
you know, yeah, like I remember this one person that we knew, it was a acquaintance of ours, and said, oh well, you know, the honeymoon phase will end, like just wait. And it's like, but why?
Why do you want it to?
Right? Why would you want
I,
to?
Do
Or
what
like,
you can to hold on
why does
to
it
it.
have to?
yo,
Right? Or why does it have to be the honeymoon phase? Why can't you just have a honeymoon marriage, right?
like Carla,
Yeah.
don't
Shout
be
out
roommates.
Carla. Yeah, shout out Carla, the greatest person on planet Earth,
I
America's
swear,
mom,
America, literally, if we can coin her as that, please. Like, that woman is changing marriages, is changing
left and
lives.
right.
Like, I
She's amazing.
swear. I'm like, how I want, like, that's what I want for my marriage. I want to be sexy texting my husband at like 50 years old. Okay. Like, we're both
Right.
saggy, and I'm like, hey, baby, like, let's have sex at 4 a.m. What?
Oh,
Like,
but it's like people
I
will
Speaking
live.
of
make
Carla, we
fun of
got to
that.
get her back on.
We do
Yeah.
need to get her back on because Carla's the best. But like, but no, but really though, it is. It's like, but you know, you people can make. I'm sure a lot of people see that and like, oh, that's weird, like whatever. It's like she is so
No.
incredibly happy. Are you out of your mind? Don't you want that? Like that just blows my mind. It's like, would you not want to be? Wouldn't you be at least somewhat curious to say,
No, people want to be
man?
miserable when they get older.
Well,
Exactly.
misery loves company. That's for
And
sure.
when they see Carla, right, they say, "Oh, well, that's not genuine. How can you be that married that long and still like each other?" Because really, at the end of the day, it's about liking your, like, you can love your spouse, you can love your husband or you love your wife, but you have to like them. You have to live with them
Yes.
the rest of your life.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, you have to like each other each day. And that's the thing about marriage, is like, so many people are throwing in I made a video about this. So many people are throwing in the towel before they get to the good stuff, before they get to the breakthroughs.
Right.
And like, you can, like, did I expect my dad to die 4 months into being married? Absolutely not. I was wrecked. Okay.
Yeah.
Was my husband there? Was he holding me? Was he, like, supporting me in those decisions? Yes. Like, it's we weathered that storm, and we can, put that badge of honor on us. And you're going to walk through life and you'll be like, we went through this battle. We went through this thing that we didn't think we were going to get through, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
death or, addiction or whatever it is, that's super hard. And just people throw in the towel so early. People don't have that grit anymore,
Yeah.
and I don't I that's why I speak to women, because it's like, as women, if we are initiating the divorce, like 70-80% of the divorce, that's the stat, right? We are initiating divorce more than men. We need to do a better job.
Mhm.
How can we make ourselves how can we find happiness in our marriage? How can we find fulfillment in our marriage, right? How can we not blame the finger on our husbands for something that we need to work on?
Yeah.
And that's why I speak to women about this, because I think that's the key to turning things around. And I see so many women just be like, I'm not happy anymore. I feel undesired. Why? Why? Let's
Mm-hmm.
get down to that. Let's figure that out, and see how you can make a change, right? Because a lot of the things, like, so I go to Naranon, which is um, a group for family and friends that have addicts as a family member or a
Mm-hmm.
spouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is like, you cannot control their life. You cannot control the outcome of their life. You can only control the outcome of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You can't force that person to be clean or sober or whatever it is, right? Or you can't force them to do anything that you want to do. But if you make changes, it can inspire change in their life. And that's
Mhm.
all we can do as spouses, right? If you're not getting something from your wife, if you're not getting something from your husband, understand why, and work on yourself, right?
Right.
Figure out take
Right.
accountability for the things that you've done, right? You're not the victim in the situation. A lot of people want to play the victim.
Yeah. It makes it a
You
lot
have
easier when
you
you
have
don't be.
to,
Yeah.
exactly, like, you want to be the hero. You want to be the person that, oh, poor you, oh, it's okay, honey, come here, like, what a monster he is. And then you come to find out that she had a huge part to play,
Mm-hmm.
right, in the marriage. And so that's what I want people to understand. It like, it requires dedication, duty, sacrifice to be in marriage for the rest of your life. That's what it does.
It's work.
It's
Yeah.
work.
Marriage is work.
It is work. I mean, marriage is work. It's going to be challenging. It has difficulties, and that's why you just have to focus and make sure that you have someone that's ready to go through those
Exactly.
times, and also understand that, like you said, you have to take personal responsibility in it, right? Like, for a husband, right, or for like you said, for a wife, if you don't feel love, desired, right? Maybe it's like self-analysis, what is maybe going on. But then for a man, right, one of the biggest things is respect, right? Are you
Mhm.
being someone that deserves respect, right?
Exactly.
It's an honest question. It's a hard question, right? And sometimes if you have to ask the question, you might not get the answer that you want if you're
Mhm.
honest with yourself. But if you at least function in what I call reality, right? You're gonna
Ah,
get
yes,
you're
the
going
real
to
one.
get you're going to be able to move forward, right? If you are honest with yourself, right, and truthful with yourself, you're going to, and that's, I think, one of the biggest missing factors in a lot of things in our culture and everything right now, is we refuse to just function in reality, in honesty and truth. We value niceness, right, and
Mhm.
politeness over those things. And that doesn't I'm not saying that's an excuse to be mean, but we should value someone's honesty over them being just nice, right?
Yes.
Because
The
being
first step the first step in recovery is admitting you have a problem.
And don't be afraid to say no. Like,
Right,
stand up for
right.
yourself.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, I mean, that's the biggest thing I find with people, is that they just aren't honest with themselves or honest with the people around them. It's like, if you would just be honest, your life would be easier. in the sense where you would have more freedom, right, on a psychological level going about your life, right? Because people are just not willing. They prefer just to avoid conflict and
Yeah.
just be nice rather than
To try to please everybody
you,
except for themselves.
right. And you end up just hurting yourself and making your life miserable because you know these things are a problem and you won't just deal with it. Right.
Mhm.
It is just unbelievably frustrating to do for that, right? Whether it's with friends,
Yeah.
family, you're like, you are functioning outside of reality and there's nothing I can do to help you until you're willing to come back into the universe that we
Come.
function in, right? to to deal with this problem.
Yeah.
If you because it's just but that can be said for anything in life. Not just
100%.
marriage, everything. Like the more you function in truth and honesty and reality, the better your life will get because at least you you can say I was honest, I was truthful, and at the end, and this goes to kind of
What
what you
does
were
his
saying
Jordan
earlier.
Peterson say? He says, "Tell the truth or at least don't lie." Right? That's one of the
Yeah,
12
or
rules
I
for
think
life.
it's tell the truth or at least try not to lie, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, you know, and again, it's we could talk. I mean, this is like most of our podcast it could turn into the Jordan Peterson fanboy podcast, but because the dude changed my life and he does every day. Because I mean, the stuff he's talked about and this is why he's changed many people's lives all across the world at this point, is because your life again in these small things that seem like they're not a big deal, right, can totally change your life, and put you in the right path to have success in all areas, and but especially when it comes to marriage, because it's a big thing that obviously you talk about on your platform, Rebecca. It's something that we talk about a lot because society it just devalues marriage each and every day. It just again the left is just focused on attacking the nuclear family. It's just reality. And, we talk about it because it's changed all of our lives,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
All three of us individually, if we think of all of ourselves pre marriage, I mean, versus who we are now, right? All
I'm
three of us could
this
say we're
different person.
different person, way happier, way more fulfilled,
Yeah. I
right?
used to be a moderate. Go figure.
Yeah. And look at this, you get married. Yeah. You get
Now you're
married and
extremist.
yeah. Now you're a right wing extremist that Hillary
You're
Clinton
a,
was talking about.
what is it? What do they call it now? The MAGA.
Republican.
No. What did they call? What did
You see,
Joe
Hillary just
Biden
put something
say?
out.
No, I didn't. I don't
I
listen
just
to
saw
Hillary Clinton.
she was talking about some like right wing extremism and
Yeah.
how we're gonna steal the 2024 election and
Yeah.
everything else.
That's one I was
Oh,
thinking.
okay.
Did you
There,
also see the whole
Hillary
Yee
Clinton.
thing?
The what?
Oh,
The whole Yee thing with Kanye.
Kanye West.
Yay.
Oh,
Yee.
about the
Yeah, that's a
that's a whole
whole
other
other
thing,
thing.
man. I don't know. Kanye's a weird dude, but most of the time he says interesting things. That's all I can say about Kanye West.
I like Kanye West.
I mean, I love Kanye West. I mean,
I like that he's just pushing back. And
Oh
I
yeah,
looked into it because apparently he went on somebody else's podcast, like Drink Buddies or something.
Drink
And he didn't
Champs.
Jink Champ, yeah. Jink Champ.
change that joke.
No, Drink Champs.
No, I'm making fun of him, not you, Rebecca.
I just watched Rush Hour, so anyways. The
That's a great movie.
he apparently was just saying the quote is that I can say anti-Semitic things and Adidas won't drop me or won't cancel me. He never actually said anything anti-Semitic that I can find, and Adidas just dropped him anyways. But apparently there
Yeah.
was already talks about dropping him after the whole White Lives Matter T-shirt thing.
Oh, that was so
So the
awesome.
dude was basically boasting because he thought he was untouchable, and they found a way to do it anyways.
I mean, I don't know. He Kanye's a billionaire. I mean, I
Well,
don't
he
think
lost
cares.
that status because when he lost the Adidas contract, he's a millionaire again. Oh,
No,
darn.
I'm sorry. He's now worth
Oh.
$999,999,999. I probably missed a couple nines in there, but you know what I'm saying. Whatever. The dude's got a lot of money.
He's a
not worried about it.
multi-millionaire.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he's
think
doing okay.
Yeah, Ye's gonna be all right. Ye's gonna be all right. So, but
100%.
anyway, what?
100%.
Okay.
Faster, better,
Stronger.
Stronger.
Faster,
Dude,
better, faster.
dude,
Anyways.
he's been putting out fire music since like 04, whatever his first album was. I've always loved Kanye, and now I love him more because he's super based. most of the time. Anyway, this has gone off the rails. This has just gone nuts. So
Isn't that like all of our podcasts together? I swear, like we just randomly talk
oh
about.
yeah, you know
we
what's
just
funny?
try to have fun. You
Yeah,
know?
well, that's what I was talking about with Christina earlier. I'm like, we have Rebecca on. Who knows what's gonna happen? We just
Yeah, this
the show goes off the rails, right? But I have to tell you, it's funny because with talking to my wife, the three people she fangirls over is Carla, Allie, and Rebecca.
Oh, I
Oh
love
yeah.
her.
Oh yeah, Christina fangirl, it's all over you guys. It's
And they're
so
like our
funny.
three
We're
like
just normal, like
residents of counterculture.
Well, because she's like I relate to like just because like you because she had commented on your thing you did, I think your video today about um people like giving you a hard time about housewives and like
yes.
yeah. So she's like, do you see this? Right? She's so awesome. She's so right. Right? She commented and she took a she's gonna be so mad at this, but she took a screenshot of you liking and commenting
Aw, I love
replying to
her.
her comment, and she was like, look.
I'm just a normal, like that's the thing, guys. Like, you know, once people get big on YouTube and stuff, they think they're like, crap don't stink. I'm like, listen, I'm just trying to be here for the girls. Like,
You get some
I'm
mom,
just,
bro. Like whatever.
dude, I literally am a mom. Like, my whole vibe right now is mom vibes. Okay, I just want, I. That's the thing. It's like when I talk on, like when I make these videos and stuff, I'm telling it to you straight. Like I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash both
Yeah.
from both women and men. Like men rip my stuff apart too because I'm not red pill enough. I'm not feminist. I wasn't feminist enough. I'm not tradcon enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. I don't care. I don't care. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to my message is clear, right? Like I
Yeah.
want to hold women accountable. There's too many women that are just walking through life, blaming everyone else for their issues, and that's not okay. That's not okay, and it's not going to get you the result that you want. It's really not. It's only going to lead you to be a miserable cat lady, and I don't want that. I really don't want that for women. I get hate all the time. They're like, "Oh, you're such a woman hater." I'm like, "I'm not. I just like want you to do better. I'm not shaming you. Like, well, I guess I'm not. I'm holding your feet to the fire, okay?
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of women just don't know what it feels like. Like as men, if something was going on between you and Taylor, you would pull him to the side. You would pull any of your guys to the side and say, like, hey, look, I think you're going down a bad path, or I think you need to make a change. My husband has men that hold him accountable all the time, whether he takes their advice or not, but at least he has counsel, right? I
Right.
think too
Yeah.
many times women don't have counsel, or it's everything's like, yes queen, slay girl, yes, like, and sometimes it's like, no girl,
Yeah. It's
babe,
like actually
like
that's a
like
bad decision.
lock it up, just like boop, close those legs, like wrap, tap, okay, like let's calm it down.
I said, lock it up. Lock it up. We're done. We need to
Lock
end
it
this.
up. Like
Oh
slow your
man.
roll. So, and if women were honest with each other, this wouldn't be so provocative. This wouldn't be so out there and wrong, But apparently I'm ruffling some feathers. I like it. That's the thing people don't understand too. I low key like it. Like this is fun for me. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh yeah. I like saying things that I think being provocative is
I'll
fun.
be I'll
Get
be
some
like
people
yay
going.
too. Get some people going. All right, I see you, Taylor. Bringing it back around. All right.
Try.
Oh man. Well, this has been wonderful. We're definitely gonna do this again because this is great. But I'm sure we could be here for another hour or two. But all of our families would be like, "What are you doing? Like,
Yes, exactly.
we gotta get out of here." So, before we get, why don't you give the listeners, where can they find you, right? If
Yeah.
they're wanting to get some more Rebecca.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at I am Rebecca Barrett. If you go to YouTube, that's where my primary presence is. You can find me at Rebecca Barrett. Now there's like YouTube handles, so I'm Rebecca Barrett on YouTube. And then I also piss people off on TikTok, and I'm at I am Rebecca Barrett as well. I typically respond to a lot of my female followers, female subscribers. So if you have any questions, um, yeah, reach out. I'm here to help. And I'm here to listen to. Like, I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of female friends on the internet. It's crazy. Like, I have all these friends like from all these places. I'm like, oh, and I saw Allie recently. It was fun. We hung out.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, that's where you guys can find me, and I would be happy to chat with any of the ladies who listen to this. Christina, reach out to me. Come on, girl. Like, I don't bite.
Oh man, if we ever go to Florida, we're definitely gonna hit you guys up.
Yes.
Definitely.
Come.
Definitely. Oh, that's awesome. So, as of course for us, you can find us, I guess, because YouTube has handles. I assume it's at the Counterculture Podcast.
Maybe.
Yes.
We'll have to
And
look
just
into it.
look at. You
Just
can also find us
counterculture
on-
politics.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram at the Counterculture Podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, share the show with your friends, right? Hit that notification bell, and go subscribe to Rebecca. She has great leftist triggering content every
Yeah.
week. You're gonna love it.
Yes, and I have a podcast too with Jackie and 3 other
Yes.
amazing women called Probably Problematic. We post every Friday on Apple, Spotify, and Rumble. We're Rumble people because a lot of the stuff will get taken down.
Gets
Yep.
We
real,
need to get
real
around to that.
spicy over there. Gets real spicy.
Yeah. If you're looking for like real spice, come check us over there. But it's a fun podcast, and we have a merch store where you can get some cool merch at it's probably problematicpodcast.com. So make sure to check us out and download our podcast because we have really fun, open conversations about political debauchery.
Oh man. So that's great. So yes, you gotta check out their podcast as well. It's a lot of fun. We've been on there a couple of times. It's really,
Yeah.
really great. So now, I mean, we gotta try to have you and Jackie on. We gotta try to have you. What I want to do is like some mega thing where we have like you and Allie and Carl. I don't know. We'll have to figure out something because you're all fantastic. We just have a super collab or something. But anyway,
we need to block off like 4 hours for that though. Like,
oh
Oh
yeah,
my
we'd be
gosh.
around forever. We'd have to have we'd probably go through a whole bottle of bourbon and just go and do that conversation. Oh man, if we could do a live or have people talk anyway. So anyway, we love you guys. We will see y'all next week. Take it easy.
Later.
bye.